Are you ready to transform your life? It all begins with waking up early, before the world stirs, before distractions flood in. In this video, I'm going to reveal powerful truths about why the early morning holds the key to unlocking your purpose, your power, and your victory every single day. Don't just survive your day. Learn how to win it before it even starts. Let's dive in. There is something sacred about the stillness of the morning. It is not just another part of the day. It is a divine appointment, a meeting place where heaven draws near and the supernatural intersects with your natural life. This isn't just about time management or productivity hacks. No, it's far deeper than that. This is spiritual alignment. This is soul recalibration. This is about understanding that before the world makes a demand on your energy, God wants to deposit something in your spirit. And the morning, quiet, untouched, unstained, is the holy ground where that exchange happens. The early morning is when creation itself seems to pause. The air is still. The sky hasn't yet turned bold with the sun. The world is not yet awake with its distractions, notifications, demands, and noise. It is in those moments that you are most available to heaven. And more than that, heaven is most accessible to you. God is not waiting for your schedule to clear. He is not asking you to fit Him in after everything else is done. He is calling you at the very start, not because He's demanding, but because He knows the best of you is found before the world touches you. There is a rhythm to divine timing, and the morning sets that rhythm into motion. Have you ever noticed how the tone of your day is often set by how you begin it? If you wake up rushed, distracted, or defeated, that spirit tends to follow you like a shadow. But when you wake up aware of God's presence, aware of your purpose, aware that this day was not given to you by accident, but by design, you don't just go through the day, you move through it with power, with clarity, and with authority. The early morning becomes your launching pad, not just into activity, but into intentionality. You are not reacting to life. You are rising into it, already anchored in the one who holds all things together. Throughout Scripture, we see that those who walked with God deeply often met Him early. Abraham rose early to meet with God. Moses ascended the mountain early. Jesus Himself would slip away to pray while it was still dark. There is a pattern here. The early morning has always been a time for revelation, instruction, and intimacy. It's not because God can't speak at other times. It's because you are more open, more sensitive, more still in those early hours. Your heart is tender. Your ears are clearer. Your soul hasn't yet been cluttered. That's when the whisper of the Holy Spirit is loudest, not because He changes, but because you are finally quiet enough to hear. So many people chase success, chase peace, chase breakthrough, not realizing that the doorway to it all begins in the morning, before the phone rings, before the world spins, before the demands knock at your door. If you could grasp the power that waits for you in the early hours, you would stop seeing morning as something to dread and begin to see it as something to treasure. You would protect it, guard it, and value it like a meeting with a king, because that's exactly what it is. You are not just waking up. You are showing up. You are presenting yourself before God and saying, "Here I am, ready, available, open. Speak, Lord, your servant is listening." And in that surrender, in that sacred offering of your first moments, something happens. Your heart aligns, your mind clears, your priorities sharpen, your identity becomes unshakable. The battles you were worried about suddenly look smaller. The confusion that tried to cloud you starts to lift. The peace you couldn't find the night before wraps itself around you like a mantle. You realize the power was never in the clock. It was in the commitment, the willingness to show up when nobody else is watching. The hunger to be with God when no applause is given, the passion to meet the Creator when others are still chasing the created. That is what makes the morning holy. That is what makes it a divine appointment. Not just a habit, not just a discipline, but a sacred invitation into the presence and power of God. An invitation that waits for you every single day, just before the sun rises. There is a mystery hidden in the early morning that many people never unlock. It is the moment just before the world begins to stir, before the first traffic horn blares, before the rush of demands, messages, meetings, and to-do lists claim your attention. It is the moment where heaven leans in and God listens closely, not because He's not always listening, but because you're finally alone enough to be fully heard. Before the world speaks to you, if you will speak to heaven, you will find that something supernatural begins to shift, not only around you, but within you. You may not see it with your natural eyes, but in the unseen realm, the early morning is a time of divine transaction. While the world sleeps, the heavens are open. The spiritual atmosphere is clearer, less cluttered. Distraction is at its lowest. Doubt hasn't yet had time to creep in. The fears that stalk you during the day haven't found their voice yet. That's the moment where your voice can rise with clarity, with purity, with raw honesty, and God listens, not just with ears, but with attention and intention. This is where you pour out your burdens before the pressure of the day even starts. This is where you thank Him not for what's already happened, but for what He's about to do. It's a prophetic kind of gratitude. It's faith speaking before sight arrives. And God responds to that. He honors that. He meets that kind of morning hunger with divine answers that set the tone for your entire day. You see, when you pray early, you're not just making noise into the air. You're not going through routine. You're not just being disciplined. No, you are aligning yourself with God's voice before any other voice has a chance to confuse or mislead you. The media hasn't spoken to you yet. Your friends haven't texted. The negativity on social platforms hasn't crept in. The doubts haven't gathered momentum. It is just you and God, face to face, heart to heart, no filters, no distractions, just real, raw communion. And when you speak in that stillness, when you cry, when you worship, when you listen, heaven records it. Angels move. Battles begin to turn before you even leave the house. Answers are dispatched. Peace is released. And what would have taken you hours to fight through mentally or emotionally during the day, God already solved in your spirit while the sky was still dark. Some of the most powerful breakthroughs don't happen under bright lights or loud platforms. They happen in the secret place. They happen when no one's watching, when no one is clapping, when no one even knows you're up, because God does, and He listens. With every word you say, every sigh, every silent cry, every whispered, help me, use me, guide me, He listens like a father who never sleeps and never misses a single word. And don't you ever think your voice is too weak, your words too small, or your past too messy. The morning is not about having perfect prayers. It's about having an open heart. It's about showing up when you don't feel like it. It's about saying, God, I don't know what this day holds, but I know you hold me. And that kind of vulnerability, that kind of faith, especially before the sun even rises, touches heaven in a way few things do. Before the world wakes up to fight for your attention, give your attention to God. Before people start placing expectations on you, place your expectations in Him. Before the problems start speaking, speak your promises out loud. That's what sets apart those who just go through the day and those who command the day. It's not about your strength, it's about your surrender. And when you speak in those early hours, heaven listens differently. Not because God changes, but because you've changed. You've made time for the one who owns time. You've prioritized the one who already knows your path. You've honored the quiet place, and that quiet place becomes a throne room. There is a power hidden in stillness that our generation has nearly forgotten. We have grown so accustomed to movement, to noise, to constant stimulation that silence now feels like emptiness. But what if silence is not the absence of activity, but the birthplace of divine strategy? What if stillness isn't a lack of productivity, but the exact place where your next breakthrough begins to form? When you rise early and the world around you is still, you're stepping into a rare space, a sacred silence where your soul can breathe and your spirit can finally speak. And more importantly, it's where God can speak without interruption. You don't need background music, the perfect lighting, or a social media quote of the day. You just need space. You just need quiet. You just need the courage to sit in stillness and let your spirit listen. You see, God doesn't shout over the noise. He whispers in the stillness. And too many people are begging for direction, crying out for answers, desperate for clarity, but they never slow down long enough to hear the instructions. They move too fast. They fill every empty space with entertainment, distraction, or activity. But spiritual strategy, true heaven-born direction, does not rush. It is revealed in rest. It is not heard in panic. It is found in peace. The early morning is not just for prayer and praise. It is also for listening, for waiting, for discerning. That quiet hour before the phone starts ringing, before the demands knock at your door. That is when strategies are revealed. That's when God begins to drop wisdom into your spirit. What to say, where to go, who to let go of, what decision to finally make. And sometimes the strategy isn't a full map. Sometimes it's just the next step. But that step will not come if your soul is too crowded to hear it. The world will tell you that answers are found in hustle, in doing more, in chasing harder. But the kingdom works differently. In God's economy, rest is warfare, and silence is a weapon. When you become still, you don't become passive. You become focused. You remove distractions and create room for discernment. The early morning stillness becomes the boardroom where heaven meets your spirit and begins to download direction straight from the throne room of God. This is why so many people stay stuck in cycles, because they keep acting without insight, moving without hearing, and striving without pausing. They confuse motion with progress, but you don't need more motion. You need more clarity, and clarity comes in the quiet. When you start your day in stillness, you give God permission to set the agenda instead of reacting to whatever comes your way. You enter the day from a place of preparedness, not panic. While others are scrambling, wondering what to do, you're already equipped. You've already received your strategy in the secret place. You already know your posture, your plan, your position, because you waited for the whisper before you moved. Stillness is not weakness. It's strength under control. It's power that doesn't need to prove anything. And the ones who master stillness are often the ones who move with the most purpose, because they don't move for movement's sake. They move with instruction. They move with divine strategy. They move with authority that only comes from knowing they've heard from heaven. And if you'll begin to value those early morning minutes, not just as moments to speak, but as moments to be silent, you'll be shocked at what begins to unfold in your life. Business ideas, family decisions, healing from past trauma, deep soul-level answers to the questions that have haunted you for years. Stillness is the soil where strategy grows, and the earlier you plant yourself there, the stronger your roots will become. There is a window of time each day when your mind is soft like clay, before the stress hardens it, before the responsibilities start shaping it, before the voices of others begin to mold what you believe about yourself and the world. That time is early in the morning, before the sun rises, before the world awakes. It's in this precious, quiet stretch of time that your mind is most teachable, most open, most ready to receive. You see, your mind is not just a machine, it's a garden. And what you plant into it first thing in the morning often determines the kind of harvest you'll reap emotionally, mentally, and spiritually for the rest of the day. That's why waking up early is not just about beating the alarm clock. It's about beating the lies that try to enter your thoughts before you're even fully awake. If you don't take authority over your thoughts early, someone or something else will. The human mind is incredibly powerful, but it is also incredibly impressionable, especially in the first hour after you wake. That's when your brain is transitioning from the deep waves of sleep into higher states of consciousness. It's during that time that your subconscious is still sensitive, your emotions are still unguarded, and your thoughts are still being shaped. If you use those moments to worry, to scroll through social media, to check bad news, or compare yourself to others, you're planting seeds that will quietly grow into stress, anxiety, self-doubt, and distraction throughout the day. But if you use those moments to feed your mind truth, vision, affirmation, wisdom, and the Word of God, then you are planting confidence, clarity, and peace. There's a reason why the enemy wants you to stay in bed, not because he cares whether you get rest, but because he knows that a teachable mind, when shaped by heaven in the morning, becomes a dangerous weapon against darkness. When you wake up early and fill your mind with the right things, you don't just survive the day, you lead it. You step into your schedule not as a slave to circumstances, but as a steward of purpose. You don't just respond to life, you command the atmosphere around you. You might be struggling with confusion, mental fog, emotional heaviness, or lack of direction, but it's not because your mind is broken. It's because your mind is hungry and it's been starved of what it really needs in the most important hour of the day. You can't expect strength if you don't feed your thoughts with the right fuel. You can't walk in clarity if your first hour is clouded by noise and negativity. You can't expect peace to rule your day if fear is the first voice you hear. When you rise early, you give yourself the opportunity to educate your mind before the world can contaminate it. You're putting on the armor of truth before the arrows start flying. You're washing your thoughts with God's promises before the lies of the world try to stain your self-worth. You're programming your inner world to stay in alignment, no matter what kind of chaos tries to knock you out of place. What happens in your mind in the early morning doesn't just stay in your mind. It flows into your actions, your words, your reactions, your relationships, and your decisions. It shapes how you see problems, how you face setbacks, and how you treat the people around you. A teachable mind is not a weak mind. It is a powerful mind under the right influence. And when you train it in the early hours, you're not just training your brain, you're transforming your life. This is the moment when vision becomes clear. This is when burdens lift. This is when strongholds in your thinking begin to break because your mind is most surrendered, most receptive, most hungry. Don't waste that moment. Don't rush through it. Don't ignore it, because what you feed your mind in the morning determines what kind of person you become by nightfall. There comes a moment in every person's life when the call of destiny will clash with the comfort of desire. You will stand at a crossroads, not between good and evil, but between what feels good now and what leads to greatness later. And make no mistake, your future will not be built on what you feel like doing. It will be built on what you're willing to do, even when your feelings resist. That's the battlefield where champions are born. That's where discipline wins over desire. Desire is loud. It speaks with urgency. It whispers things like, sleep a little longer, do it later, you've earned rest, or no one will notice if you skip this one day. And sometimes desire doesn't even feel wrong. It feels reasonable. After all, who doesn't want comfort? Who doesn't want to avoid pain? Who doesn't want ease, especially in a world where burnout is real and the pressures of life are heavy? But here's the truth. Comfort is a liar when it becomes your compass. Comfort is a trap dressed as kindness. It convinces you that rest today is harmless without reminding you that consistency is what builds greatness. Desire will give you temporary relief, but discipline gives you permanent results. Discipline doesn't come from feeling motivated. It comes from being anchored in something deeper than mood, vision, purpose, conviction. When you choose to wake up early, when you deny your desire for more sleep and rise anyway, you are training your spirit to lead your body, not the other way around. You are telling your soul, we answer to purpose now, not to impulse. And that simple act of getting up when everything in you says stay down, that is the seed of every great thing you'll ever build. You're not just beating the snooze button, you're beating the part of you that settles. And don't be deceived. Discipline is not punishment. It's preparation. Athletes train before the world sees them win. Musicians practice when no one is listening. Entrepreneurs grind in silence before the spotlight. And people of purpose rise early when no one is watching because they know that private discipline always leads to public reward. You cannot microwave greatness. You cannot shortcut transformation. What you do when no one is watching determines what people see when everyone is. But let's be honest, discipline is not always glamorous. There are mornings when your eyes burn with fatigue, when the bed feels like heaven, and when the world outside your window is still dark and quiet. In those moments, you have to remind yourself why you started. You have to remember that every step away from comfort is a step closer to calling. Desire asks for what feels good right now. Discipline demands what's best for your future. And if you want to live a life that leaves a mark, you can't let how you feel dictate what you do. You were not created to live by default. You were created to live by design. And design requires intention. Intention requires decision. And decision requires discipline. The kind of discipline that shows up early. The kind that puts in the work when no one is clapping. The kind that says, this morning matters because my future is listening. The kind that doesn't wait to be inspired but shows up ready to inspire. Think of it. Every time you rise early and train your mind, pray, plan, think, build, reflect, or simply be still, you are proving to yourself that your purpose is stronger than your preference. You are showing heaven that you can be trusted, that you don't need a crowd to be committed, that you don't need perfect conditions to stay consistent. You are demonstrating that discipline is not what you have to do, it's what you get to do, because the dream in your heart is worth every sacrifice your body makes. And that kind of life, that kind of rhythm, that's how legacies are born. Not by people who did what they wanted, but by people who did what they were called to do, even when they didn't feel like it. The choices you make in the early hours of the morning are not just shaping your day, they are shaping your destiny. What feels like a simple routine, waking up early, praying, thinking, journaling, studying, exercising, is far more than just a schedule. These small decisions done in secret are carving the architecture of your future, because what you do in the unseen hours of the morning determines who you become in the seen moments of your life. The world glorifies instant results. It celebrates quick wins, overnight success, and highlight reels. But the truth is, eternal impact is never built in a rush. It is not born in convenience. It is crafted in the dark, faithful hours when no one is watching and no one is cheering. The world may not see you getting up at 5 a.m. No one may post about your prayer life, your quiet study, your morning declarations. But heaven sees. Your future feels it. Your character is being chiseled and strengthened by every quiet commitment you make when the sun hasn't even risen yet. We often underestimate the power of the early morning because it feels so normal, so ordinary. But that's the beautiful deception. Eternal impact is usually disguised as mundane consistency. The repeated humble choice to rise, to prepare, to align your heart with your calling, that's where transformation begins. Greatness doesn't explode onto the scene. It grows underground in the dark soil of discipline, watered by the daily decisions that seem small but carry eternal weight. Think of all the people you admire, the leaders, the visionaries, the spiritual giants, the innovators. They didn't become who they are by accident. They became who they are because they mastered the early hours. While others slept, they prepared. While others delayed, they decided. While others waited for motivation, they moved with intention. They weren't just chasing productivity, they were cultivating legacy. They understood that the early morning is not just for time management, it is for soul management. And here's something powerful to realize. Every early morning decision doesn't just shape your life. It shapes the lives of those who will follow you, your family, your children, your community, your generation. The ripples of your commitment stretch beyond your timeline. When you choose to rise, when you choose to feed your spirit before feeding your schedule, you are building a foundation that others can stand on. Your early hours are not private, they are prophetic. What you do in that sacred time will echo long after you're gone. There's something deeply spiritual about giving God the first part of your day, not the leftovers, not what's convenient, not what fits in after everything else, but the first. When you give God your first thoughts, your first words, your first focus, you are declaring that He is not just part of your life. He is the center of it. That posture shifts everything. It aligns your entire day around purpose instead of pressure, around calling instead of chaos. You may not feel like anything is changing right away. There may not be fireworks or fanfare, but something is shifting deep within you. Your mindset is changing. Your discipline is maturing. Your purpose is sharpening. Your sensitivity to God's voice is increasing. The roots of greatness are growing deeper, and no one sees it yet. You are becoming the kind of person who can handle the weight of vision, the kind of person who doesn't crumble under pressure, the kind of person who walks in peace even when life feels unstable. And all of that begins in the morning, in the quiet, in the ordinary, in the hours where most people choose comfort, but you choose calling. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present. It's about showing up when it would be easier to sleep in. It's about understanding that these early hours are not wasted. They are eternal investments. Every word you speak, every thought you train, every prayer you pray, every verse you meditate on, it's not just building your morning, it's building your legacy. Victory is never an accident. It is never something that just happens in the heat of the moment. Real victory, deep, lasting, soul-level victory is prepared for long before the battle even begins. The battles you face throughout the day, mental battles, emotional pressures, financial decisions, relationship tensions, temptations, unexpected chaos, those battles are won or lost not in the moment, but in the morning. Before the enemy has a chance to whisper, before the stress even has a name, before your schedule becomes overwhelming, you already have a decision to make. Will I be led by what comes at me today, or will I be led by what was established within me before the sun rose? Every great warrior trains in private before stepping into public combat. Soldiers don't wait for the war to start before they prepare. Champions don't wait to feel strong before they develop discipline. And spiritually, emotionally, and mentally, you are at war every single day. Whether you realize it or not, life is a battlefield, and the enemy is strategic. He watches your patterns. He studies your weaknesses. He knows when you're vulnerable. And the easiest target is the one who slept through preparation. But when you rise early, when you carve out space to strengthen your spirit, renew your mind, and anchor yourself in truth, you are not just being productive. You are putting on your armor. You are stepping into the day already crowned with peace, already clothed in clarity, already equipped with conviction. You're not reacting, you're reigning, because you met with God before you met with the world. And this is something most people don't understand. Victory is about positioning. It's not about being the strongest or smartest or loudest. It's about being the most aligned. And alignment happens in the early hours. When you wake up and choose prayer over panic, purpose over procrastination, truth over turmoil, you're telling the world, I've already won something before the day even started. Victory isn't just about achieving something big. It's about resisting the small compromises that quietly destroy you. It's about saying no to that thought that wants to drag you back into anxiety. It's about having the strength to walk away from that conversation that would have stolen your peace. It's about recognizing the lie before it enters your belief system. And those victories, they're quiet, they're unseen, they don't get posted or praised, but they are real, and they are won because you were ready before the pressure came. Think about this. How many days have gone sideways, not because something huge happened, but because you weren't prepared for something small, an unexpected comment, a delayed email, a moment of temptation, a burst of insecurity? That's why rising early is not optional for those who want to live with power. It's essential. You don't wait for a storm to build your foundation. You build it every morning, brick by brick, truth by truth, moment by moment. When David faced Goliath, he didn't win in that moment. He won when he was alone, watching sheep, learning how to hear from God, practicing his aim, cultivating courage in the quiet. The giant was just the platform. The victory was already in motion long before that day arrived. And in the same way, the giants in your life, whatever they may be, will fall, not because of what you do when you see them, but because of what you did when they were nowhere in sight. Every morning is your battlefield before the battlefield. It is the place where you decide what kind of person you will be today. Will you carry peace or panic? Will you move with fear or with faith? Will you be easily shaken or unshakably grounded? The answers to those questions are not found when the challenge hits. They are found in how you prepare before the challenge ever shows up. So when you rise early, when you choose to train your mind, feed your spirit, and discipline your body, you are declaring in silence, I may not know what's coming today, but I already know who I am. And that identity, that alignment, that preparation, that's what gives you victory before the battle even begins. So now you see, waking up early is not just a habit. It is a holy habit. It is not just about rising with the sun. It is about rising with purpose, discipline, and divine alignment. Every early morning is a gift, a sacred opportunity to partner with heaven before the noise of the world ever reaches your ears. It is in those quiet, humble moments before the world stirs that your character is shaped, your mind is trained, your battles are won, and your destiny is written, word by word, step by step. You're not just building a better morning, you're building a stronger soul. You're not just managing your time, you're transforming your life. Each time you rise early and say, God, I want you before I want anything else, heaven takes notice. And over time, those early moments begin to bear fruit. More peace, more clarity, more direction, more confidence, more impact. Some people will tell you that mornings don't matter, that discipline is optional, that comfort is king. But you know better now. You understand that the way you begin determines the way you finish. And you're not here to just drift through life. You're here to lead, to influence, to build, to leave something behind that's bigger than you. And it all starts before the sun even breaks the horizon. So wake up early, not just for success, not just for routine, but for the transformation that takes place when you meet with God. Train your mind, quiet your soul, and take authority over your day before it takes authority over you. Wake up early because your future is waiting and it won't wait forever. Rise into your calling, rise into your power, rise into your purpose, because the ones who rise early are the ones who rise above.